Hello and welcome to Course Like Your Car Brochure channel, and in today's episode for Ford Friday we're continuing looking at our 1986 all model catalogue for Ford. Last week of course it was the Sierra, now the Ford Capri. Hello and welcome back, and if you're new to Course Like, we're a car brochure channel here on YouTube looking at car brochures from around the world for the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s and sometimes beyond that as well. So if you're interested in cars and car brochures, looking back at cars you remember that are quite rare now, please consider subscribing. It is completely free. Anyway, today's Friday, or at least when this particular episode first aired, we call those episodes Ford Friday episodes because we look at a Ford every Friday. No exception today. We're continuing our journey in 1986 for the Ford full range. Last week looked at the Sierra. Now it's the turn of the Capri. So kind of like end of stories really. The Sierra was like building its range, getting a bigger and bigger range, going from strength to strength. The Capri, on the other hand, was kind of like reducing its range, getting smaller and smaller. So we'll certainly see that contrast today. Apologies, I've got a little bit of hay fever today, so I'm not upset that this is the end of the Capri. I've just got a little bit of hay fever, so I do apologise, but the show must go on. So let's have a look at this brochure. So the front of this particular brochure, it's really promoting the new Escort and Orion ranges which came out. The brochure itself is dated March 1986, so we've got these new models arriving in the showroom. Ford are going from strength to strength really, aren't they? I mean, they're coming out with more and more new models. But then we've got the Capri, and it kind of doesn't really fit in with the range in some ways, but let's have a look at that now. Here it is. It says at the top here, rewarding to drive, practical to own, the Ford Capri. Here showing, and we'll have a bit of a zoom in a moment, but here it's showing the 2.8 injection, the sort of flagship model of the Capri range. But certainly when you look at the rest of the range, it doesn't really quite fit in. It certainly looks like a car from a different Ford styling era, and of course it was. Let's zoom in on the main image. Certainly the top of the range model, the 2.8 injection, certainly had some attractions still as late as this, but really this was the era of the hot hatches. So people who more traditionally bought a Capri were now looking at the hot hatches. Fiesta, Escort, Sierra, you know, your XR2s, your XR3s, your XR4s, which have become your XR4x4 by this time. So there's lots of other cars to choose from, and this was kind of like become not really the fashionable car of its time. And certainly when I bought a Capri, I only had a lowly 1.6 laser, but that was in the 90s, and when I bought it in the 90s it was really becoming a very unfashionable car. You could pick them up very cheap indeed. They were really not the cars that people really wanted to drive or be seen in the 90s. And of course now the prices have gone a little bit crazy again, haven't they? But certainly at this time, not a car that was really fashionable. Of course now we've got the new Capri, which is like an SUV. Strange that, isn't it, really? Because when the so-called replacement for this came around, the Ford Probe, they said, oh no, we can't give that the Capri name. But you know, then we give it a seat, give the Capri name to an SUV. So unusual how things change. Anyway, let's stick to the topic at hand. So very much a reduced range then for the Capri in this final year. Only two models, and that's very much in contrast to the Sierra, which was very much a growing range as we saw last week. Now if you look back in time, and I'll just bring up a 1983 brochure for the Capri, which consisted of the LS, the rather attractive S, and of course we had the 2.8 injection there as well. So 3 trim levels. But if we go back still further to 1980, when it was a much more fashionable car, it still had that lovely front end, those twin headlamps still looked good in 1980, and there was still a certain amount of marketability for the Capri. hot hatches haven't really quite taken off yet. So the range then was the L, the GL, the Sporty S, and of course the Luxury Capri, so a much larger range still. Anyway, if we go back to 1986, what is the range now? All we have now is the Laser in either 1.6 or 2 litre engine sizes, and that 2.8 injection. So really very much a reduced range, and you can certainly see just by looking at that the days were numbered for the Capri for sure. But anyway, let's start at the beginning. Let's have a look at that basic Laser, and then we'll come back to the 2.8 injection. So here it is, the Capri Laser. So what was the Capri Laser? Because we didn't see it in the 1983 brochure. Well, from November 84, Capri was then only sold in Britain with right-hand drive cars, because the rest of Europe said, you know, this is an outdated car, we no longer want it. There wasn't really a market for it really. But in the UK, because of the Capri name, I think a bit of history, there were still some people who were really rooting for the Capri to continue. So from that date, they had this new level, the Laser, both as a 1.6 or 2 litre versions, and this ran till the very end. And of course we've got the higher spec 2.8 injection. There was also the Capri 280, which kind of like came right at the end as sort of like a special edition run out model, not seen in this brochure though. So this particular brochure is saying the Capri Laser, the exclusive special edition Laser, brings even more style and class to the rakish Capri range. So I mean, we could almost view this on a Saturday special where we look at special editions, but was it really a special edition? This has been around since November 84, still around to the end, so it wasn't that special edition really. They just decided to call the base model the Laser really. Like I said, two engine models at either a 1.6 or a 2 litre. Anyway, let's have a look at the text, have a look at some of these images, then we'll look at that top sporty model. It tells us the rakish Capri Laser is tailored to cut a dash without ripping a hole in your pocket. This exciting variation on Ford's family fastback theme looks good, goes well, and has all the comfort and convenience expected of a stylish mile-eating coupe. The long, lean shape that has made Capri so popular is enhanced by many eye-catching features that are unique to the exclusive Laser variant. Body coloured grille, body lip and bezels for 4 halogen headlamps match each of the bodywork's standard or optional solid, metallic and metallic two-tone colours. The Laser also brings 2 new colours, lacquer red and mineral blue, to the Capri range. The door mirrors with remote control adjustment on the driver's side get the same body colour treatment. Black painted bumpers at the front and rear have their inherent strength supplemented by sturdy overriders. The Laser's identity is also proclaimed by unique tape stripes which share the sleek flanks with protective rubber side mouldings running from wheel arch to wheel arch. Tinted glass and discreet tailgate mounted spoiler are other attractive items in the value for money Laser package. The low slung car's hard charging image is additionally endorsed by superb RS style alloy wheels whose 4-spoke pattern blend low weight with great strength and durability. They are shod with 185/70 tyres. Inside, leather is used to trim the steering wheel and the gear lever knob. Appropriately stylish True-Raw cloth trims the seats. The front pair have fully adjustable head restraints and is also featured on the door and quarter panel inserts. The driver naturally gets a full set of instruments including tachometer and can slide or tilt the Laser's steel sunroof to make the most of the fine weather, or to supplement the ventilation system with its powerful 2-speed booster fan. Words and music are provided by Ford's RST21P MWLW radio stereo cassette with 4 speakers and an electrically powered aerial. Power and transmission. The Horved camshaft 1.6 engine develops 73.5 PS at 5300 RPM and drives the rear wheels through the Laser's standard 5-speed manual gearbox. The combination's vital statistics include 0 to 60 in 13 seconds, a 99 miles per hour maximum and 45.6 miles per gallon at 56 miles per hour. So straight away you can see performance is probably on the poor side for something that looks very sporty, so you can see why people would probably be looking at other sporty Fords, I think. The 2-litre alternative, packed with 37% more power, or maximum power, and 30% more torque, reduces 0 to 60 time to just 9.6 seconds, while increasing top speed to 113. Fitted in conjunction with the 5-speed gearbox, it provides the best of both worlds by being more economical than the small engine at both 56 miles per hour and 75 miles per hour. Ford's auto transmission is optional. Looking at the images, we get a zoom in on the front end, body coloured grille, black bumper, and as I remember it, quite an old-fashioned bumper design where, you know, rubber at the ends and then it was just like metal sections in the middle, so certainly out of date by this time where all the other Fords were putting these big moulded bumpers on. And then the trim, pretty nice actually, I must confess. It is a pretty nice interior spec on the Laser for a base model Capri at the time, but Ford always used to do that though, didn't they? They brought out a model, you really had a hard time getting into anything. The base model was like really poverty spec, and then when they were struggling to sell them, they threw all this kit on them, made them look really nice and said that's your base model. Even going so far as putting these alloy wheels on a base model. We can just about make out the Laser badge there. Bit of a story, when I had a Capri Laser, I parked it up for its MOT, came back and the garage owner or garage owner there said someone's drove into it, and someone indeed had drove into the front wing while it was waiting to get tested. Garage owner said, don't worry, we'll sort it all out for you, which they did. They put a new wing on there, they painted it. They couldn't get this Laser badge. They could not find that anywhere. And then they said, oh, well, we'll get someone, someone to actually paint it on for you and it won't look any different. In the end, I waited and kind of like gave up on it. So at one side it didn't have that Laser badge on there. Obviously today that would be quite an easy thing to just get that remade, but for some reason they could not find that badge in the 90s. Anyway, that's just a little bit of a story about my one. But, you know, for a base model, it didn't look good, didn't it? I think that's the key of it. Performance quite poor for the 1.6, and I did have a 1.6, and yeah, it was nothing particularly good about it in performance stakes, although I just used it for going to college and back, and it was perfectly adequate for that particular job. But like I said, when I had it, it was quite an uncool car. Everyone was, of course, more interested in hot hatches. Anyway, let's move up and have a look at really the completely opposite end to this, these small engines, and then we'll put a big 2.8 in there and make a proper sports car. So let's have a look at the next model. So the next model up is indeed the top of the range model, the Capri 2.8 Injection Special, packed with character and performance, and indeed the engine more matches the look of the car, that's for sure. We'll have a look at some of the text, then we'll come back to the images. So the Capri range's exotic blend of high quality style, luxury and dazzling race-bred performance is epitomised by the spellbinding 2.8 Injection Special. A true champion that looks superb from every angle. Exceptionally strong on value, the specification is tailored to optimise characteristics that have made the Capri a legend in its own lifetime. The sleek body is complemented by 15x7 alloy wheels whose elegance belies their lightweight and immense strength. Shod with low profile 205x60 VR tyres that make this most coveted of all Capris a car whose road holding and handling cannot be faulted. It goes on to tell us equally important but hidden from view is the Injection Special's limited slip differential, designed to maximise traction under difficult conditions. It's a sophisticated feature rarely found in lists of standard equipment. The limited slip differential contributes a great deal to the Capri's crisp, predictable handling and is a valuable asset in a car capable of 130 miles per hour. The Injection Special's searing speed comes from a refined but robust V6 engine fitted with brakeless electronic ignition and the advanced Bosch K-Jetronic fuel injection system. It all adds up to 160 PS at 5700 RPM. Externally, the Injection Special has a body-coloured radiator grille, bonnet lid and light bezels to supplement the strong identity provided by its eye-catching wheels. The seats combine the luxury and practicality of high-grade leather with strobe pattern fabric centre panels which match the door and quarter panel inserts. Although the ventilation system is very efficient, its airflow can be increased by tilting or sliding the steel sunroof. The open road is the 5-speed Injection Special's natural habitat, and its 13-gallon fuel tank, allied to give excellent economy, gives a range that can comfortably exceed 300 miles. There is that interior, a little bit old-fashioned, but still I think they've made a nice job of trying to keep it a little bit up to date. It certainly looked very nice. Have a look at the exterior with those very nice alloy wheels. I particularly like the alloys on the 2.8 Injection Special, I must admit. By the side there, the 5-speed gear lever. And there is a zoom in on the front end with those rather attractive alloy wheels. You can see the decal there on the side in that tape stripe. And a little bit of a look how it finishes off with those rear opening kind of quarter windows, kind of like pulling out. So we've seen how Ford manages to sell late model cars, throwing as much kit on there as possible and also simplifying the range. Only two models in the range at this time. The other way they get rid of them is obviously by price. So that 1.6 laser was £6,890.18. The 2-litre version, which is probably the one to go for, was £7,328.44. So competitive pricing. So what sorts of things could you get for that sort of money? So that's kind of like in the sort of Escort 1.4 GL range, or for the 2-litre that's the sort of Escort 1.6 GL range. Price range at the time, so that's what you could have got for your money. So it was well priced, I must admit. That 1.6, a pretty slow car by this time. Good price though, $6,890. Like I say, you could probably just get a 1.4 GL Escort, although the Escort had just come out, so it was a much more modern vehicle at the time. But mainly reason why the Capri was losing out here was because the hot hatches had arrived, and that was the fashionable thing of the time. So for £6,506 you could get a Fiesta XR2, so cheaper and more fashionable. I think I probably would have gone for the XR2 than the 1.6 laser. Let me know what you think. Now moving on to the 2.8 V6 fuel injected. The solid colour was £10,599. The metallic colour was £10,742, and the two-tone version was £10,832. So again, very well priced for what essentially it was, quite a good performance car even then, and a lot of kit on it, of course, as well. Thinking about an equivalent, we could have got that XR 4x4 that we looked at last week for 12,342. Was it worth saving up that little bit more to get the XR 4x4? Possibly, but like I say, very well priced to sell that Capri for £10,599 for a solid colour version. But that sort of price, you was talking like Sierra 2-litre EFI gear money. In fact, you get that cheaper. So a Sierra 2-litre EFI gear was £10,325-ish. So a little bit cheaper to get a 2-litre EFI gear. I would definitely have gone for that over a 2.8 V6. But if you're considering, the mind is, whoever's buying a 2.8 V6 is certainly thinking about sportiness. Your other option was just to go for a Sierra 2-litre S, £8,862. I think I certainly would have gone more looking at the Sierras and the Capris at this time, but like I said, cleverly priced by Ford to really make you think about it, and certainly let me know what you would have bought. The other option, of course, was to go for an Escort XR3i, £8,168.93, so you can get an XR3i for much cheaper. Maybe that was the one to go for. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you would have chose. So there we go. That takes a look at the Capris for 1986. Let me know of your experiences with the Capri. Always very interesting to read, and of course, even very basic Capris are quite pricey nowadays, where, like I say, in the 90s when I bought them, and the only reason I bought it was because they were cheap, because pretty unfashionable by then. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think, both about those prices. Maybe you would have gone for something a little bit different at the time. Next week, the Ford Granada, so that will be an interesting one. So the 86 Ford Granada, and again, we'll maybe have a look at the prices, see what we would have picked there as well. But thank you so much for watching today and Ford Friday, and as we always say, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It is completely free. Finally, we'll say I've added a couple of boxes there for links to this particular brochure and another episode as well. So thank you so much for watching. Please do take care. We'll see you very soon, and goodbye.